Good afternoon, Mr. Amos.
Good afternoon, Barry.
Um, it's a pleasure to meet you once again. If you can recall vividly, last time we had a similar meeting like this, and I want to first start by saying I want to say that I appreciate you so much for being a mentor throughout this mission journey. Even before I started doing my leadership code days at Africa Leadership University. So today I'm here again. We are currently at the implementation stage of our mission project. Last time we had a meeting, we were talking about prototyping. Today we are here discussing about implementation. So before we start, I want to seek your consent to make sure that this meeting is being recorded. I want to know where you're okay with that.
Yes, I'm definitely
Okay, thank you as always. I really appreciate you over the years, and it has been a pleasure knowing you. So, as you already know, I'm on a mission to reduce the negative human impact on the environment, on environmental disaster, and that of our biodiversity protection. From our last meeting, you can recall vividly that I was trying to start up a project that will be producing environmental documentaries that is centered around raising awareness, educating Sierra Leoneans, basically the youth, in order for them to change their mindset, improving their environmental habits to make sure that they protect their environment. Understand? So as a result of this, I did a prototype last year during my last term, of which I produced a 5-minute mini documentary videos just to see how it will impact people outside here. And during the prototyping stage, we are able to engage around 40 participants who participated during the prototyping stage, and most of these youths have been able to change their environmental habits as a result of this particular video. So basically, I focused on plastic pollution during that time because we can clearly see that littering is one of the biggest environmental issues around Freetown and Sierra Leone. So today we are here again. In as much as I've reached this stage of prototyping, I need a guidance when it comes to implementation. And you being an expert in this particular field, that's why I'm here today again to engage with you to get this type of knowledge or this type of know-how of how I can go about implementing this strategy successfully. So to start with, you already know that I'm on the verge of making sure that I educate Sierra Leoneans outside here, change their mindset and all. So I want to know, what is your take about what has been the solution so far, and what are your takes about the solution I just made known to you, and what do you think about the end goal of this particular solution? Being that we've been struggling when it comes to environmental disaster, being that you've been in this field, the environmental field or the environmental space of Sierra Leone over the past years.
Yeah, so great. So just to clarify, you've just mentioned the end goal of the solution.
Yeah.
Is it as to the solution you mentioned the last time we met, which was about using videography to educate people about environmental issues and all that?
Yeah, that's the same solution, like Embryo Studios, producing mini documentaries.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the question again is
basically, what do you think about this particular solution, being that you've been within this space over the past years?
Yeah, looking at environmental issues in Sierra Leone, it's really it's one that we might say people around there only knows about the negative. The negative things about Sierra Leone, having flooding, Sierra Leone having mudslides, Sierra Leone having landslide, Sierra Leone exporting a lot of timbers. These are all negative impacts of environmental, of the environment. But to be honest, there are a lot of things that are currently being done that a lot of people don't know about. Like we were talking about, having the country as a whole, Sierra Leone, and Freetown City having the first chief heat officer, meaning the country is looking towards how can we reduce the heat that is being, that is in our environment, and connecting to the SDG, which is life on land, which is I think SDG 11. So what I'm trying to say is that how many people, you go out there, how many people know about that? We don't have them. And how many people are seeing the strike that Sierra Leone is doing when it comes to heat reduction, as to all the tools that are there that calculates the heat. So you using, bringing a solution that tells people the impact. It's not so much that these things are happening, but these things are also happening in terms to mitigate these things that are disastrous. So for me, I've always, believed in educating people let them know what's the negative thing that is currently happening in the environment space in Salon. So if we're having, that's just one way. So if we're having an idea that look at not only telling them but giving them picture evidences, like what's happening, in Sierra Leone in terms of environment protection. Another example is the country planting how many millions of trees in the whole in different districts, in 14 districts in Freetown. So these are things that that solution can actually show people the impact. Like, let's say the tree planting started last year and it's also coming to a year, and these picture evidences could tell people that exactly these solutions are working. These solutions that are being used to protect the environment, which is planting more trees, that are going to reduce on the CO2 emission that is going into the air. And looking at flood mitigation issue that looked at constructing better bridges and culverts, so when it's rain, the water will flow properly, and also getting more shrubs and grasses, and also looking at how well we are protecting our coastal, the coast side of the country, planting more mangroves. These are documentaries that definitely, will be exciting to watch. So for me, I believe that it's a very great, solution. And what makes it so great is that you're not just looking at the audio part, but it's like an audio visual thing. So which means I'm not just hearing the impact, I'm also seeing the impact. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. I love the fact that you understand what's the end goal, and I love the fact that you always mention about how I want people to know what are the things that are going on within the environmental space. So in as much as you've stated that this is a great idea and this is a great thing I'm trying to put out there to the society, but when it comes to the implementation stage, these are things that are very, very, very critical. And I feel like you being in this space over the past years, your expertise is needed by a young man like me who is looking forward to go into this particular industry. So as of now, I want to ask a question. What are some of your advice when it comes to some of the pointers that I need to look at to think about when implementing this particular strategy? Some of the pointers or some of the key things I need to take into consideration when implementing this particular solution to the world.
Yeah, we live in a space where people have become more aware about their rights.
Okay.
And they have been used and misused over the years. So what I'm trying to say is that this thing, it's gonna be captivating here, but one thing as well you need to be very careful of. So there's this, let me give you a personal example. There was this other day I was passing through the Aberdeen Creek, and on to see how we can plant mangroves around there. And there's this guy who wants to extend his land, for him to build more houses. And so he's destroying the ocean, and he wants to keep that. So when we went there, he took sticks and he was running. He was running to us. He was like, "What's happening?" No man. Then the other people were like, "That man, if you stand there, it's gonna wound you, because he doesn't like when people come around here, because when they come, they tell him not to do what he's doing." So what I'm trying to say is that you need to be, one way that will mitigate such happening is maybe you need to follow the regulatory system in Salon, as to say, let's say you want to do that video thing, you might want to get clearance from the police, you might want to be so official that when you go there, you have all it takes to present to people for them to know that you're not coming to make money out of their heads. You're not, you have a reason why you're doing those things. You want to tell the world the amazing thing that is happening in the environment space in Salon.
Okay, so if I understand, this is centered around regulating consent of participants and all. Okay, so the next question is, in as much as here I'll be working towards the regulating system, seeking the consent of people and all, how should I make sure that ensure that this particular implementation is realistic enough? In as much as you've been an individual who has worked on other projects within this particular space, how should I make sure that, or to ensure that this implementation is really, really realistic? What are some of your advice?
Yeah, so in as much that you really want to tell a great story about the amazing thing that is happening in the environment space, so the realistic comes or starts with you yourself that is passionate about what you're doing. We've seen people that are so passionate about something that they want to sell it in a way that is not realistic, which means by force people should understand this. By force people should know that this thing is happening. So you need to try to narrow down to what you really want people to know. what are they? There are a lot of environmental disasters around, but you can't point hurricanes. You know, you need to understand your mission. Why are you doing this? You can't point in hurricanes that hardly happen in Sierra Leone and tell people there, this is what this MD or the government is doing towards, limiting the cause of hurricanes in Sierra Leone or volcanic eruption. So you need to really be realistic in terms of telling the actual things that are happening. We have got a lot of environmental disasters happening, and we've got a lot of solutions towards them. So that's one thing you really need to do. Tell the things that are happening and not the things that might happen.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. Are there any other realistic points you might want to like put out? Because I feel like if it comes to this, I feel like it's more connected to fact research before I
Yes.
send out any video. Are there any other implementation tips you might want to give me when it comes to my project being realistic enough?
Yeah, there are a lot of you've got an amazing you've got your idea being implemented, or it's in an amazing space in which people are already always open to share their ideas. So that's one thing you should really leverage, because there are certain solutions that have happened. You might only get those solutions. You might watch all the articles online. You might watch all the videos. If you can't get them. But when you use empirical data to really, I mean, tapping into the resource of men or people that have lived in certain places, that solutions towards certain environmental thing have happened. Like in Bay, there are certain, before it's used to flood during the rains, but now it doesn't happen. But you don't have actually a video clip or a paper that writes what was done.
Understand?
So when you try to tap into the resource or the thinking of those that have lived around there, I think you get more facts, and it's always nice when you tell your story and people are there. You collaborate with people. So let's say it's not always you say, let's say the government now is working towards banning plastic. Then you talk all the good things about what the government have done and all that, without really getting in people into the Environment Protection Agency, the Ministry of Environment, who have done all the great jobs. So let's hear from them why this shifts, why the change of mindsets by the government or by the institution towards going into a plastic free country and all that. So in as much you really want to tell people that this is my idea, yes, I'm the one who brainstorm and all that, but you need to really incorporate people. And that will be one way that will really sell you out, because I'm sure you really want to make money out of this, and it's very possible. You need people to watch all those things that it's a tech wall now. Everyone is on the internet. You need to be good. You need to have a good relationship with me for me to say, have you seen what was done in 1992 in Bay? That's the reason why people are not ever experiencing flooding. That's the reason people are not ever experiencing an ocean rise and sea level rise and all that. But if that collaboration or that partnership is not there, then it will limit you, and it will not go that far.
Okay, thank you very much. I love the fact you talk about partnership. I love the fact that you talk about something which I've been missing over the past years, which is clips or documentaries that don't showcase what has been happening over the years. So basically, at this point in time, I just want to ask, what are some of the possible ways for me as a young man to increase my network within this particular industry? And what do you think are some of this is like a 2-in-1 question. What do you think are some of the possible things that I can include in this particular solution when it comes to the implementation stage? Like certain things that I can include that will make it to be more innovative, more captivative to the people outside.
Yeah, let me start about what you should include. A lot of people really don't understand their space when it comes to solution. So I know definitely that it's something that you really want it to go wired and all that, but you understanding, your audience, it's one way that is really key. So what I'm trying to say, making in videos with no translation or just in Creole or just in English will limit people's understanding of what you want to share. So that's one thing that I would advise if you have not done it, look at alternative way in which people can understand your message.
Okay.
You know, and get for certain people, this is what I want to share. For certain people, this is how long I want this thing to be, and all that. And increasing the network is very key because, you know, it's key. And one way you can get it done, I've always believed in network as well, and into the environmental space. You've got people, less people there really. You know, we've got more lawyers, we've got more, you know,
Doctors in that.
more, yes. But when it comes to people see the environment space as, oh no, it's a dirty job and all that, but it's not.
True.
You know, so maybe getting, not maybe actually, you know, one way to increase your network within the space is to really be interested in the space. You know, because when you're interested in the space, that will motivate you to, you know, listen to and webinars, you know, connect to environmental seminars and all that. You know, so that's one way to increase, because when you're there and when you're really interested in what you are doing, when you're in this seminar or in this webinars, you can contribute. You know, it has happened for me several times, like when I'm in a conference and all that, then I am participating. You know, it's like, ah, this is a young man, you know, you're interested into the environment. So that's one way. And another way is to really make what you're doing stand out. Because if you do these things and let's say the global entrepreneur environmental faculty sees it, they reach out to you, that's another network being created. So what you're doing should stand out, and you should really be passionate about what you're doing, because that's what triggers you to really look out for more things that will, you know, lead you or will connect you to potential, you know, people or potential companies or potential governments or politicians who wants to be part of the solution towards the environment.
Okay. So finally, I want to talk about the part of you mentioned about the national global something. Like that. I just want to talk about what are some of the available opportunities within this particular space, especially when it comes to Sierra Leone. Let's say, what are some of the available partnership opportunities? What are some of the available financing opportunities? What are some of the available entrepreneurship opportunities within the space of Freetown wherein that can add up to this particular project when it comes to finance, when it comes to logistics and all? Because starting a studio is not an easy thing, and basing it only on environment, it clearly shows that you might not be expecting proceeds at the earliest stage unless otherwise. So what are some of the opportunities that can boost up the implementation stage of this particular solution, and that can see the solution come out successfully when we implement it finally to the work?
Yeah, so just like you've mentioned that I've just mentioned that you need to be passionate about what you're doing. You know, so there are a lot of opportunities right now. We're talking about climate smart farming, we're talking about, you know, zero heat, we're talking about zero hunger. So what I'm trying to say, solving the environmental problem, it's really huge, and there are a lot of opportunities that you can tap into. You know, funding opportunities are always there, and the global environmental faculty is there to support environmental projects. But what I always see solution to the business approach. So what I'm trying to say is that in the ag space, you've got environmental issues there. You've got farmers who their crops or their thing are being attacked by pet disease, pests and all that. So one way to really make money out of that problem is for you to tell them what is causing this thing, do a 1 minute video how to solve this thing, and it's you can do that and present it to like the Ministry of Agriculture. Like, I have a solution for your farmers. I know that the government wants to increase food sufficiency in the country. So if you if you tell your farmers how to control diseases and pests, then there is a high possibility for more food production, more productivity within the ag space. Yeah. And another thing is like you've got, that's internally. Externally, you've got a lot of, you know, company out there that are looking for young researchers to bring in solutions. Like, I know you know Cedric Mafarimba. I don't know if you know him. That he was an ALU, you know, facilitator, and how he got his PhD scholarship was he met this company, this organization I believe that you're working on a research. So can you fund me, go study, and my thesis is going to be the solution that you want?
Wow.
Yes, so that's how he got the masters for his PhD in England. So what I'm trying to say is that there are some problems out there that companies and organizations do have. Like organization want to tell the story of how people are really cooperating in planting mangroves in the Aberdeen Creek, but they really don't understand how to do it. So until you get to know those organizations, until you get to do your personal research, and I go back being enthusiastic about what you do, you will never know if they want those things. So those are other means as well to sell your idea to these guys and let them know that you have them. So when they want those solutions, they'll come back to you. Yeah.
Thank you very much. I want to say thank you very much for over the past few minutes. We had a fruitful discussion. So is there any last comments you might want to comment on, or any last thoughts or any last advice towards this implementation stage as we are approaching the end of this particular meeting?
Yeah, be very passionate about what you're doing as you've always been, and ask more questions, and don't think that because you've done all your best that you don't be annoyed, because that's one way you could improve.
True.
And starting up your own venture, it's not challenging, but it's time consuming. I don't believe that it's time consuming because you finding all those funds and all that to start. It's time consuming, so you should be motivated when those times comes, and don't think as well. Be open up. What I'm trying to say is that I know that that's something that you're passionate about, but if you are working towards producing videos to tell the story about the environment, you should not just close yourself there.
Yeah, true.
Let's say if you see an opportunity that is near to what you're doing, you might want to harness that opportunity. It might be a job, it might be another business. You harness it, you learn what they're doing, and the proceed from what you've gotten here, you put it here,
Invest it.
and that's how you become your own CEO.
True.
You don't want to be a CEO at 50, you want to be a CEO very young, so and you need money to boost things. So you might want to harness opportunity that comes and use that money from those opportunities and invest it to what you really want to do. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Mr. Amos.
Thanks very much, Barry.
It has been a pleasure having you, and we'll be having this meeting back and forth for this term.
Yeah.
So I just want to make it known to you because we're at the implementation stage. And once again, I want to say I'm very, very happy for all your contribution over the past years towards my academic work, and thank you very much for your time.
Well, thanks,
Really
Barry.
appreciate
Yes.
it.